Here I am.
왔어요?
What are you up to?
지금 도미니카공화국 대사관에서 메일이 왔는데요.
Oh,
같이 봐요.
we'll be interviewing at a different location this time.
맞아요. 중남미문화원. 똑똑님 가봤어요?
No,
전 예전에 한번 가봤는데 아주 놀라운 곳입니다. 간 김에 장소 소개도 좀 해야겠어요.
sounds great.
근데 지금 문제는 인터뷰 주제가 좀 생소해요.
What was the topic?
기후변화와 그 영향으로 증가하고 있는 바다 모자반.
It's definitely new.
근데 저 진짜 솔직하게 말해도 돼요?
Of course.
저 모자반이라는 거 처음 들어요.
Really?
톡톡님은 알았어요?
Of course.
뭔데요? 저 좀 알려주세요.
Sargassum is a tropical seaweed that has a long shape and brownish color. It is usually distributed throughout the temperate tropical oceans of the world and generally inhabit shallow water and coral reefs. There are around 360 known species of sargassum in the world.
아, 해조류의 일종이에요. 해조류라고 하면 알죠.
I wonder why the ambassador chose this topic.
그러게요. So we decided to research Sargassum before the interview. 안녕하세요. 저는 지금 도미니카공화국 대사님과 인터뷰할 주제에 대해 공부를 좀 해보려고 합니다. 왜 기후변화로 모자반 이야기를 하고 싶다고 하셨을까요? 여기 보면 카리브해가 모자반 때문에 문제가 많은가 봐요. 여기 기사 헤드라인들을 보면 대서양 카리브해 뒤덮은 2천만 톤 모자반 환경의 역습, 썩은 달걀 냄새 모자반 2,400만 톤 카리브해 뒤덮어, 이런 뉴스들이 많이 나와요. 근데 카리브해뿐만 아니라 한국도 모자반 때문에 골치를 썩고 있나 봐요. 항해, 양식 위협하는 모자반, 이어도 앞바다 대규모 관측, 바다의 불청객, 괭생이 모자반, 처리 골머리. 또 여기 기사들 보면 모자반을 자원으로도 활용할 수 있나 봐요. 뭔가 우리가 어떻게 활용하느냐에 따라서 뭐 골칫거리가 될 수도 있고 자원이 될 수도 있을 것 같은데, 아무튼 아주 흥미로운 이야기를 많이 나눠볼 수 있을 것 같습니다. 대사님과. 여러분 안녕하세요. 오늘은 도미니카 대사님을 인터뷰하는 날이에요. 지난번 회의 때도 말씀드렸지만 오늘 인터뷰 장소는 바로 중남미문화원입니다. 그러면 중남미문화원으로 이제 가볼게요. 중남미문화원까지 차로 1시간이 걸립니다. 1시간. The Latin America Cultural Center Museum is located in 고양시, 경기도 province. 안녕하세요, 감독님. 대사관 전문 PD 나누리입니다. 먼저 와 계셨네요. 감독님, 보여주세요. 중남미 문화원 어떻게 생겼는지. The Latin America Cultural Center Museum opened in 1994 with the purpose of helping people understand the culture and arts of the Latin American region. We started setting up our equipment for the interview first. 오, 오셨어요. Hello, Ambassador.
Hello, Angela. What a
Hi.
pleasure. So good to see you here.
Thank you for meeting me here.
Oh, isn't this place fantastic?
Yes, it was a nice suggestion. I'm very happy that we're having an interview here today.
Well, it's a privilege to be here. This is my second home in Korea.
This
It's
is
a gallery and a museum built by Ambassador Lee and his wife.
Yes, this place was founded by former Ambassador Lee Bok-kyung and his spouse Hong Ga-pyo. Ambassador Lee worked as a diplomat for over 30 years and served as ambassadors and head of missions in 4 countries in Latin America, including the Dominican Republic.
And I've heard that the Ambassador Lee, the founder of this place, was the South Korean ambassador to the Dominican Republic.
Yeah,
Is that
the
right?
first ambassador
Oh, the
that
first
the
ambassador.
Republic of Korea sent to the Dominican Republic. He
Wow.
opened the embassy,
Oh.
he set up the Chamber of Commerce,
Oh.
and he kicked the ball that's growing and growing, the bilateral relations between the two countries.
So he's a very important figure.
Very important.
Ambassador Lee became the first Korean resident ambassador to the Dominican Republic in 1981. So this place has a special relationship with the Dominican Republic, right?
There are many Dominican artifacts here.
Oh, really?
So let's go straight to
Okay.
where there are.
Oh, wow.
After you.
Wow.
So of the
This
many
is amazing.
Dominican items in their collection,
Oh,
here we have paintings by Candido Vidó. This Ambassador Lee bought when he was ambassador in Dominican Republic. This is the mask the embassy donated
Wow.
to the collection.
You all know that the Dominican Republic is famous for carnival, right?
People dress up in this type of mask and with costume like a devil, and they start fighting each other in the street with balloons that are made from cows, and it's inflated but hard. So when people hit each other, it's not painful, but it makes a lot of noise. Ta ta.
Here, ancient relics, modern and contemporary art, and sculptures from Latin America are on display. You can immerse yourself in Latin American culture.
so as an ambassador of Latin American countries, this place must be very meaningful to you.
Yes, yes. Very meaningful, very representative. It is a wonderful way to get exposed to the variety, the colors, the vibrancy of Latin American culture. I hope many Koreans come and visit this wonderful place. And I hope the world over, through Ariran TV, can know about this place, and when they come to Korea, they should come and see this, because this is a fantastic place to visit.
As the ambassador said, you should visit here if you come to Korea. Since we enjoyed some culture, what about beginning the interview in earnest?
Okay, shall we start? So, Master, we're going to talk about climate change and Sargassum today. So, I want to ask you this question first. Have you experienced climate change this summer?
Well, this summer was the hottest summer, I think, ever. And I got to experience a little bit of that, both in Europe and in the Dominican Republic. In Europe, the heat was hot wherever I went. In the Dominican Republic, I made a short visit to one of the top destinations. Climate change was experienced not only with the high temperatures. I mean, summer is always hot in the Dominican Republic. There wasn't anything particularly hotter this time. But people think of climate change and island states like mine as a problem of rising sea levels and rising sea temperatures. And with rising sea temperatures comes increased acidity. And with increased acidity comes this plague of Sargassum algae. This I saw. Sargassum algae in the shores of Dominican Republic, arriving despite of barriers that have been placed. The algae jump the barriers, get to the shore, start rotting, and once they rot, the smell is just unbelievably bad. As a result, nobody was in the beach in the summer.
Sargassum began to proliferate rapidly in the 2010s. In particular, the world's largest colony of sargassum, known as the Great Atlantic Sargassum Belt, is found in the Atlantic and Caribbean regions. This belt, which extends from West Africa to the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico, was said to have stretched up to 8,850 kilometers as of 2018. Climate change is cited as the primary reason for the successive increase of sargassum in the Atlantic and Caribbean. As the Amazon rainforest was destroyed and rainfall in the region increased due to climate change, nutrients from the soil flowing into the sea are said to have accelerated its growth. An increase in the use of fertilizer in South America is also pointed out as one of the causes. It is argued that the nutrients from fertilizers were washed into rivers and flowed into the sea in spring and summer, which also helped the growth of sargassum. Sargassum is a beneficial algae that provides nutrients to plankton through photosynthesis. It supplies oxygen to the sea and provides a habitat and spawning ground for marine life. However, its excessive and rapid increase causes various problems. First of all, the rapid growth of sargassum has a negative impact on the marine ecosystem. This is because it interferes with the creation of habitats for marine life and blocks sunlight, causing marine life such as coral to suffocate. Additionally, when sargassum colonies wash up on shore, they damage the coastal landscape, cause foul odors, and attract insects. The decomposition process produces hydrogen sulfide, which smells like rotten eggs. Meanwhile, large amounts of sargassum can get wrapped around ship propellers at sea, hindering fishing and navigation. They can also get caught in marine fish farms, damaging facilities and aquaculture products.
So we must find a solution to this problem. And every problem creates an opportunity. I remember the very last mission I organized when I was ambassador in London to the Dominican Republic was to bring a scientist to see what they thought could be done. The idea, as communicated by these scientists to all my authorities and people in academia and the private sector, was to see the sargassum as a source of a lot of biological value. This biological value is lost the minute it gets into the shore and starts rotting. It's too late. There's nothing that can be done except let it dry and grind it and use it as a source of bagasse to protect the soil. What's valuable is what you can do with the sargasso algae before it rots, meaning capturing it in the high seas, before it gets into the country. Reading more recent literature, I have found that the sargasso algae absorbs many critical minerals that are just floating in the seawater for many reasons, including industrial waste, contamination. All these minerals coming from different sources are themselves absorbed by the sargasso algae. So by processing the sargasso algae, we can turn the sargasso algae as a source of critical minerals.
So as you mentioned, sargassums can be used as a source for critical mineral or biofuel. Is the Dominican Republic carrying out any research or any policies in place in this regard?
We are open to engaging in joint research. I know the Ministry of Science and Technology has funded some studies. I know several of our academic institutions are actively monitoring the situation. There are many private sector initiatives with a view to creating new opportunities for the fishermen that are affected, because you see, when there is algae, it's very difficult to go out fishing. You can basically do anything because the sea is just full of floating algae. So there is one company called SOS Carbon that was created by a very entrepreneurial graduate from MIT who happens to be from the Dominican Republic. He came back with the technology, with the business model, and basically this company engages the fishermen to go out, get algae and bring it back, and they are paid to pick up the algae. What they do with the algae once it comes to the shore, well, that's an open question. I'm not so clear what they're doing with it. But I think we need to think big about this because this is a big problem that is affecting the whole region. So we need to address this and see what can be done that addresses the issue and maximizes the potential of the resources.
Sargassum, which has proliferated greatly due to the effects of climate change, is pointed out by many countries as the main culprit behind marine environmental pollution. However, it has the potential to be used as an eco-friendly material. In June 2022, Korea's Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries announced that it would begin a project to develop biodegradable plastic materials using marine algae such as sargassum, with the goal of developing them by 2026. A plan is also in the works to use sargassum to make plastic used in farming. Plastic used to maintain the temperature of crops and block the growth of weeds causes soil pollution. If replaced by eco-friendly materials made from sargassum, it would biodegrade over time, and no separate collection work would be required. In addition, there are continuing efforts to use sargassum for biofuels such as biogas, bioethanol, and biodiesel. In addition to its use as an eco-friendly material, research is continuing to utilize sargassum in the development of fertilizers, food, and new drugs. This year, the National Marine Biological Resources Institute of Korea discovered and registered a patent for anti-inflammatory ingredients related to various skin diseases extracted from the species Sargassum horneri.
Is there an embassy-level initiative to cooperate with Korea on sargassum?
There are already initiatives underway. There are several institutions in the Korean government that have convened meetings to discuss the sargassum. I think Korea has it all. Korea not only has a maritime industry, not only has a vessel shipbuilding industry, Korea also has the chemical industry, Korea has the energy industry that could then find what to do with the sargassum. So bringing together all these potential actors, I am sure we can come up with a solution that can then become an innovative cooperation program. Imagine if we could come up with applications for sargassum that produce clean energy, that produce organic fertilizer, that extract critical minerals from the sargassum algae. That would be wonderful. And that would greatly complement many things we are already doing that are addressing the needs for the energy transition as a means to combating climate change.
Listening to the ambassador, I was curious if there were any companies that used sargassum to create eco-friendly products. So I decided to do some research. After some research, I found that there were many companies that used sargassum to make various products. We contacted one company to interview them about products made from sargassum. His company obtains cellulose, the main component of plant cell walls, from organic waste resources and uses it to produce eco-friendly packaging such as paper, plastic, and liquid mulching.
먼저 그 모자반으로 어떤 제품을 만들고 계신지 짧게 소개 부탁드릴게요.
모자반은 해조류 중에서 갈조류고요.
네.
그걸 가지고 저희가 부산물을 전 처리를 해서 그거를 원료화 시킨 다음에 그 원료를 가지고 지금 저희가 테스트해서 시제품을 만든 거는 이제 플라스틱 쪽이 있고요. 그 인조대리석의 그 아크릴주하고 이제 시멘트 없이 이제 좀 제품을 스톤 계열로 하기 위해서 해조류 전처리한 해조류 가지고 저희가 이제 스톤을 지금 제작해서 그건 좀 상당히 많이 지금 진척이 돼 있는 상태고요. 그러니까 목질개가 비목질개 셀룰로스를 가장 또 쉽게 얻을 수 있는 게 그 농산물 부산물하고 해조류 부산물이거든요. 그 셀룰로스를 얻는 가장 지금까지 전통적으로 얻는 방법이 이제 목재에서 지금까지는 모든 공장들이 제조업체에서 그렇게 쓰고 있고요. 근데 목재에서 셀룰로스를 추출하려면 가장 큰 단점이 뭐냐면 황산과 같은 뭐 염소 같은 이런 좀 유해 물질들을 가공을 해서 그 펄프를 얻게 되거든요. 예, 그렇게 해서 일단 저희 셀룰로스 원료 이 물질 자체를 부산물에서 얻고 싶어서 그렇게 해서 이제 처음에 좀 시도를 하게 된 겁니다. 셀룰로스를 얻는 데까지 비용 자체는 굉장히 적어지죠. 그리고 에너지도 많이 안 쓰고. 왜냐하면 그 해조류는 거의 한 달에 한 1m, 2m 정도까지 성장을 해버려요. 그거를 이제 수거만 할 수 있으면. 그리고 이제 그러니까 저희가 지금 접근을 못하는 이유가 이 수거를 저희 업체 단독으로 할 수 있는 게 아니거든요. 그래서 이런 부분들은 지자체나 국가 차원에서 아니면 뭐 환경부든 이런 쪽에서 어떤 시스템을 만들어 놓지 않으면 저희 같은 스타트업들이 이거를 해조류로 아무리 좋은 완제품을 만들어도 이거를 생산을 못 하게 되는 거죠. 예.
I was able to learn a lot about the potential of Sargassum. Shall we go back to the interview with the ambassador? So we've talked about the cooperation regarding climate change between Korea and Dominican Republic in the past. So how about now? Are we still cooperating well on the climate change between Korea and the Dominican Republic?
Oh, very well, very well. There are a number of initiatives because you see, Korea has been very active in securing the venue for key institutions in the fight against climate change. The Green Climate Fund is in Songdo, and is the key institution created by the process of COPs, no? and created in particular by, well, at least strengthened by the Paris Convention with sufficient funding. Well, hopefully we'll have sufficient funding, but right now it has funding to see how can specific initiatives like this can be targeted and put into motion. It needs more funding, of course, because you need funding for mitigation. This is an example of mitigation. You need funding for adaptation. You need the technology transfer. All these issues cost money, and countries like Dominican Republic didn't create the problem of climate change. This is our emissions of global warming gases are literally a drop in the ocean in comparison with what other bigger countries are still doing non-stop. No? So this is serious. And the so-called damage and loss is the hot topic right now in the discussion of the COPs, no? The conferences of the parties that meets every year.
Last November, one of the biggest issues at the 27th UN Climate Change Conference, held in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, was loss and damage. From the beginning of the conference, developing countries strongly argued for the establishment of a new financial facility dedicated to responding to loss and damage caused by climate change. After intense negotiations, for the first time in 30 years since the adoption of the UNFCCC, the issue of raising financial resources to respond to loss and damage caused by climate change was adopted as an official agenda item at COP27.
Today, here in Sharm el-Sheikh, we established the first ever dedicated fund for loss and damage.
However, countries still remain deadlocked over the issue. The Implementation Committee meeting for the UN Climate Loss and Damage Fund, held in Aswan, Egypt, ended on October 21st without reaching any conclusions. The biggest issues at the meeting were who operates the Climate Fund and developed countries' funding support. Developed countries demanded that the operating entity be the World Bank, while developing countries demanded the establishment of a separate, independent entity, saying that developed countries would have a strong influence if the World Bank were in charge. Although they agreed that the World Bank should play a leading role in the fund's operation, the two sides clashed again over ways to raise money. Developing countries argued that developed countries should take the lead, while developed countries argued that China and Saudi Arabia should also make significant contributions.
Going back to Korea, Korea has secured the venue for the Green Climate Fund and also for GGGI, the Global Green Growth Institute. With these two institutions that are generously funded by Korea as a result of having the venue, we are engaging in a number of initiatives that are relevant for the implementation of our so-called nationally determined contribution to the reduction of global greenhouse gases.
I think now everyone is well aware of climate change, but do you think the international community is doing its best to tackle the climate change problem?
Well, the first thing the international community should do is to put their money where their mouth is. If they really believe in this, we need to come up with more funds to replenish the Green Climate Fund. This money is needed for all these activities I mentioned. That's the first thing. The second thing is that countries should take their policies seriously and their commitments seriously. We were very successful in following the leadership of that great Korean Ban Ki-moon, when in 2015 in Paris we adopted the Paris Convention on Climate Change. Everything we need to do is there. Are we doing it? I don't think so. And many countries all of a sudden have realized that the cost of implementation, the political cost of implementation are very high. Rising prices for energy. I mean, prices for energy have been rising because of many factors, but when you actually make the energy transition, you replace an efficient technology that has been used for a long time, but unfortunately polluting and creating the problem of climate change. You're replacing that for something else that is not really more efficient because it is more costly. But if we don't do anything, or if we keep on delaying the transformation, this is going to be much worse for everyone, because we don't have a planet B. So we need to find a way to keep on producing those conventional energies that pollute less. We need to find a way to ensure that they pollute less by complementing their operations with mitigation. In order to do it, funding is required. And when we needed to face COVID, all of a sudden, the funding materialized. It was done then because the international community thought this is important, we have to do it, we need to kickstart the world economy and face this shock successfully. We did it. So are we going to do the same for climate change? I think we need to do it. This is serious. This is as serious, probably not as an immediate threat, but every summer it's going to get worse and worse. So the international community needs to take this seriously as they took the shock of COVID as a pandemic.
So what should we do to make international community fully committed to tackle climate change issues?
Well, that's a very good question. And I think citizenship empowerment is the key. Because you see, politicians only react when the people kick them out. And this issue is an issue of literally life and death for many people in the world. So citizens need to exercise their rights and demand that the politicians act on the commitments that we have all undertaken. This is a commitment by consensus. And the time is now. It's not for tomorrow. This now. We need to act. And these plans that we present need to be implemented. How many countries are actually implementing all these nationally determined contributions they have tabled in Glasgow and other events? This is an open question, and maybe we should go through it and see, the gap between goals and actual performance of those goals. And then citizens should take into consideration next time they vote in the elections.
Listening to the ambassador's story made me think again about climate change and its impact on us. I also remembered the emphasis put on the role of the people. Even if it doesn't directly affect me right now, climate change will eventually threaten us all. I hope that today's episode of Diplomat Talks will be an opportunity for all of us to take action and raise our voices to prevent climate change right now.
Máscara del diablo pone in Peru, yes. These are from Peru.
Wow.
In Savannah, for example, all the costumes and masks look like sea creatures. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.